Go ahead.
We owe Terrence Crawford an apology because Mr. Greg is right. Right in the lead up, he was holding up the fight.
He was.
He won these negotiations. When you look back at everything, this for me, Marty, Rachel, this for everybody. He won those negotiations because Spence allowed him to win those negotiations because of his disdain for Keith Thurman and his overall hubris. In his mind, he was going to run over Terrence Crawford. In his mind, he didn't want to face nobody but Terrence Crawford. Even when his representation in my Marty voice is telling him, yo, we're giving up too much. Let's walk away from the table. No, I want to fight him. I want him. See, the reason why you hire good representation is because you're a fighter. You're a dog. You're a warrior. You just want the smoke. But the reality is, Mr. Greg, he gave up too much. He gave up everything. You earned your right to be the A-side. You wanted 3 belts, right? But you came in, you the one that came in with the layoff. You the one that had to go in first. You the one that gave up the money, right? Boxing is psychological. So when you add up the whole situation, Terrence Crawford finessed him.
His will was
stronger. And then beat his ass.
That makes sense. That would make sense if he was. I'll play this. That would make sense if he wasn't as good as he was that night. What I'm telling you is this.
No.
Let me finish real quick. What I'm saying is what we seen that night, not even the negotiation, have that to the side. The fact was that he didn't look like he belonged on the same planet as Bud.
He didn't.
Ring. He looked like he belonged on the same planet as him. You can't tell me that didn't look like Floyd versus Tyrell Gotti when the Floyd was a smaller guy. I mean, he just he got
and that is Derrick James' fault.
No.
That is Derrick James' fault.
It did.
Derrick James gave that man no plan B.
He didn't prepare him correctly with the plan A. Because
Derrick James was sitting there talking about, that's just athleticism. That's just, you better look at what he's doing. Talk about just athleticism.
Let me get this super chat. I have a reason why, I can't listen. I respect YSM's viewpoints. I don't know who owes Crawford apology or not. I'll leave that to YSM and everybody else to make that assessment. But I'm on record, and I'm probably the only one that don't. I'm telling you now, Manager Marty does not owe Terrence Bud Crawford an apology, and I'm going to tell you why. Because Terrence Crawford, and he said it on his IG Live himself in November of 2022, that he talks to the bigwigs. He sit at the table with these high-level individuals. His words, not mine. And he was trying to make the same demands, and nothing happened. But, good old Manager Marty came on YouTube, and I told the young man, this is how you get those demands met. This is what you have to do. A, B, C, and D. And the A was getting reputable, good representation to be your mouthpiece to get it done with their experience. And guess what Terrence Crawford did? He did everything that Manager Marty told him to do. Whether he watched my channel or not, the bottom line is the principles that I recommended based on my knowledge and experience of this business, Crawford did it. And he got the deal done, and he is the one who won in the negotiations, and he will receive all of my credit for that because he finessed Spence. And he used representation to do it. And I got
Marty, I got a question for that.
Marty, I said the reason why I said we owe him an apology.
One mic.
We thought he was moving. I said we thought he was moving crazy. I know I did.
No, he was.
I'm like,
no,
YSM. Like, what is he doing?
YSM. Before Crawford got the representation, he was moving funny. I'm standing on that. His actions spoke for himself.
No. But it worked. Think about this. He would have been the one coming in on the layoff. Like he would have been the one taking the severely B-side offer, right?
Yes.
Now as far as getting shouts out to what's his name? Ishmael Hansen.
Absolutely.
Shouts out to Ishmael Hansen because he gets it done. But effectively, he turned the odds on the casino. So he won in negotiations and he won in the boxing ring. So I'm gonna say I owe him an apology because I thought he was batshit crazy. But in actuality, he was crazy like a fox.
Crazy
know,
as a fox. Because
all I'm saying is
representation was a formality as far as I was concerned. Because if Spence hadn't told his people give him what he want, the fight wouldn't have happened. He didn't understand. What's going? Okay. If Spence hadn't told his people to give Crawford what he wanted, he understood. Bud, in my opinion, was prepared to walk away from this fight, even though he wanted to be undisputed just as much as Spence. But Bud's will and his stubbornness is him being so stubborn is what prevailed. This is my opinion, because this is how Bud is. Even Sean Porter says Crawford is the most stubbornest person he's ever met in the boxing game. So Bud was standing on it, even though he was going to lose something he actually wanted just as much as Spence. Spence just wanted it enough to bend, and that's what happened. So once that happened, it was downhill from what I could see for Spence psychologically, from coming in. And I don't think Spence was as prepared as Bud was. Spence, to me, was doing the same thing he has always done in previous fights. This is not the first time you want to talk about him being coming to training with too much weight. This is habit. This is what I said about him being undisciplined. He's the fighter. So you only gonna be as good as the rest of your people are only gonna be as good as you. You're the one who gets them paid, because you're the one who got to actually go in that ring. So if you coming in and you got to first get all this weight off of you, and that's a habit, and then you train, you get cut up when you look good, and then you go into the ring and you still win, you start to believe this is a good formula. I mean, that makes sense to me, but this was, again, I expect, as I told you, I expected Crawford to look better than he has ever looked, and he did. But I also really expected Spence to be doing and at least have the same mindset. What I'm finding is a lot of these fighters don't have that kind of old school mindset. This is why a lot of older guys like me still identify much more with Crawford than we do with Spence. And that's telling, and a lot of the fans, of Spence fans at least, have that same kind of, oh, he gonna be all right, but you got to go deep down where you've never been before to reach that kind of height, to rise to that grand a moment. And that's just the thinking you got to have. You got to have that kind of thinking. And a lot of the younger guys do not.
Let me say this, Mr. Grigg, and I don't want to sound disparaging, but that's not the case. I know everybody likes to romanticize their era or their time. Oh, back in my day, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, we seen Terence Crawford show us everything that we heard he was.
Yeah.
He showed us everything we heard. We heard he was like Floyd. Freddie Roach don't say it about nobody. Say what you want about Floyd. Nobody talks about all his enemies, nemesis, whatever. They always say he's the best. Everybody told us. Sugar Ray Leonard told us. Roy Jones told us. James Toney told us. I mean, Antonio Tarver told us. Everybody told us this kid, Crawford, is different. But we felt a certain way because of the emotional connection with Spence. He did a great job, as your boy Marty said, having management that had us all. I've been following Spence since the amateurs. When do you do that anymore? That's how long I've been watching him. So when it was his first time to get tested, of course I thought he was going to pass with flying colors, not get beat to death. And what I'm saying is this: I don't think it was nothing about his mindset. At the end of the day, 9 out of 10 times, Bud's going to beat him to death. Some guys are just like that.
I'm giving him the whole 10.
But listen, this is the thing. Some guys are just like that, man.
Yeah.
You can't give him the whole 10 because Oscar beat Pernell. That was the 10th. That was the 10th time. So it never happens. Let's just think about it. It never happens. So I would say at least 1 out of 10 times Spencer beat him, but he just get beat to death. They go to 154, it's gonna be even worse because let's remember, Crawford had to go back for a couple hours and get some more weight off too. So Crawford Crawford kind of struggled making that weight too. So it's like it might even be worse. And think if Crawford was a bloodthirsty fighter, man, we not even remember Crawford took it easy on him. we seen him take it. He could have really hurt him bad if he wanted.
He's a quiet killer. You don't want to be in the ring with somebody. You don't want to be on the street with somebody like that.
Hey,
you know, because he does not get emotional. He's gonna take his time, but what he hits you with is going to hurt.
He wanted to beat him, Mr. Greg. You gotta remember that. He just wanted to beat him. That was the crazy part.
He did. And I begin to feel sorry for him.
Let me get these two super chats real quick. We got Mohammed says that's why some fighters nowadays confront YouTubers. This was from the earlier segment where we were talking about you know, YouTubers and all the stuff that we talked about, criticism and all of that. Thank you for your contribution and your support to the channel. Sorry I'm late with the Muhammad. I was trying to cut right in to get the break in so we can have a smooth show. But I'll make sure that next time I'll be a little bit more expedited with acknowledging your super chat. Mr. Muhammad, thank you again. Salute to you, Mr. Muhammad. We got my guy who was on here yesterday. He's also an avid Terrence Bud Crawford fan, Mr. Jamal Neezy. Thank you for your support and your contribution to the channel, Mr. Jamal. As always, Mr. Jamal says, sounds like y'all saying Bud is not only a better boxer, he's a better businessman. What makes him appear as the better businessman is that he did something that he should have done with good representation, and that is get his demands met. Terrence Crawford won this fight psychologically before this fight even happened inside of the ring, because he did what manager Marty asked him to do by getting reputable, good representation to represent him and to be able to articulate those demands in such a business way that will entice Errol Spence. Now, Errol Spence has great representation in Al Heyman, who was basically giving Errol Spence some of the information and recommendations earlier on before any of this happened. But like YSM Sports Media said earlier, he was being stubborn. Spence was being stubborn himself, and he just wanted to fight Crawford, and that's all he was focused on. And he was more so focused on becoming undisputed, where Terrence Crawford was putting all of his eggs in different baskets to make sure that he was well prepared, whether he get a new strength and conditioning program, whether he get good representation. He was building those blocks up to be able to make sure that win, lose, or draw, he can accept the loss because he was fully prepared. And we have to give him all of the credit for that. Spence obviously was not prepared. I mean, if I was representing Spence, I don't care what the man say, we ain't giving up all those concessions. And a coin toss, that's 4 different concessions that we had to give up. No, that's not how it works. We got to negotiate and compromise. We both are going to lose a little bit, and we both going to win a little bit. And that's good representation. But at the same time, when you got a fighter who's telling he's the boss now, fighters, they are the boss. And you got the boss telling you, I want this done, I want that done. At some point, the representation is going to say, all right, this is what you want. No problem. So the bottom line is he was out negotiated, not because he had poor representation. It's because Bud Crawford used good representation, and he used the emotional and psychological commitment that Errol Spence made, even in a coma. I want Bud. And Bud did it just like any other woman. And I got to say this because I got women watching right now. Women that know the man want her. She gonna make her ways to demand everything and let the man know, if you want me, you gotta do A, B, and C, and make the man run and chase all around the world. And then when she's ready to give him whatever he wanted, she done got all her demands met. And that's just how it is. And that's exactly what Crawford did. You want to fight me? Okay, I need these demands met. You still want to fight me? Make these demands. Because Crawford said that he called Spence in January. That's what he said.
Yeah.
So he's the one that initiated this process and still was able to outfox Errol Spence based on using Errol Spence's emotional state to fight him, and he got it done. That's exactly what happened.